Honestly, man, it's been the consistency. It's watching other dudes be consistent and see them excel. And I've kind of always known that, but actually put that into practice is very different. You know what it's like to be watching and looking and have an idea of what consistency might look like, but to actually put that into practice, it really, that's what makes the shift, right?
Mm.
It's the tracking of your daily activities. It's doing the stuff that you say you're going to do, actually doing it, right? Because there's, you can write stuff down and you can talk about it, but until you actually do it, nothing's going to change for you.
Yeah, bro, that's a banger right there. And that's like, for any of y'all that haven't been watching this show at all, this channel, whatever, is this entire channel is all about the journey to the top 1%. And how do we get there? It's by becoming 1% better daily. So spot fucking on, bro. Well, like, dude, why don't you tell the guys who you are, what you do, and let's get into it.
Yeah, my name's Nick Wingo. I was a firefighter for 18 years. I lost 10 coworkers in my career, and I ended up in treatment for 35 days. And when I was in treatment, I said, no more, I'm done. And so I went on a path and a journey of self discovery. I traveled the world and learned about breath work and had this idea that I was going to become a men's coach. And that didn't really resonate fully with who I am. And so my path led to a regenerative medicine clinic.
Mm.
So I took my pain and my suffering and shifted it into something that I'm genuinely changing people's lives. Some of the modalities that we're using, it's every day that I get to witness people shifting their health. And it's amazing. And it's such a massive blessing. So my company is Awaken IV. We're in Boulder, Colorado, and we are bringing a movement. This is what healthcare will look like in the future. And so I'm on the front of it, and I'm like so excited and just grateful for where I am.
That's super sick, man. And that's such an audacious goal. So that's super cool. And there's like a lot I want to get to and like start unpacking there. But like there was something that you said that at the beginning that like really like stuck with me is because like it's the consistency, right? And that's like a big thing that we've been seeing a lot of. And thankfully, a lot more has been brought to light. It's hard waters to navigate sometimes when you get into like groups like Uncaged or any other group, or to your point, you mentioned like men's coaching, like you get in these coaching groups, go to these events, the retreats, all these different things. And man, you get fucking fired up and you get motivated and you get inspired. And then at some point, that motivation and inspiration like dies off, and like all you're left with is the consistency, is the discipline. And there's something that's like I've preached this a lot here recently, and like I don't mind reiterating myself because it does mean so much to me. And I wanted to kind of unpack this with you and see how this has come to fruition in your life because I'll pick on, Jeff Suter. He said this as a joke in front of Autumn at one of the co-ed retreats or whatever. And it was a joke, but there is like some truth here, obviously. And she's like, you've been a dick lately. It's about time for another retreat. And it's funny because if you know Jeff, he's the nicest fucking human on earth. But like, it's just funny that we can come off these retreats and we're so fired up, and the motivation and inspiration's there. And then after a while, like fucking life just knocks us fucking down, knocks us down, knocks us down. There's curveball after curveball, left hook after left hook. And so then we end up back in this like state of life that was or is our norm when we're not on the motivation and inspiration high. And we get stuck with this level that we fall to this level of our discipline and our consistency. And I've been really deriving from this is if you go back and look at any of our special forces operators that have ever come and spoke to us over the years, none of them know each other. They might know of each other because some of them are a little bit more famous or whatever, but like none of them actually know each other. And they for sure as fuck didn't corroborate right before the calls and be like, hey, we need to be talking about this, um, you know, every 6 months when we had one. But they've all said that, when you're in the middle and as a firefighter, you can attest to this. I'm sure when chaos hits the fan, or when chaos comes, you fall to your lowest form of training. Like your lowest level of training is like what you default to. And so like for me, I'm like hearing you talk, I'm like, oh fuck, like that's it. But like from a motivation and inspiration standpoint, like when you have all this dopamine and stuff and it's all cool and everything, but you can go back to life, you fall to your lowest level of discipline and consistency. So like what's that look, what has that journey been like for Nick where like you can see in yourself, cool, we go do the rah bullshit and we're all stoked and excited. We're like, yeah, man, like we're gonna wake up at 4 a.m. and fucking ice plunge and like do all this shit. And then it's like life happens, you get busy, you stop going to the gym, you stop taking care of yourself, like all this stuff. Like, what's that journey been for Nick as like, how do you see yourself having fallen from motivation and inspiration to your lowest level of like discipline and consistency, but then also how are you improving your discipline and consistency?
Totally. So, I totally agree with you that we do fall to those levels because we go into what I like to call default mode, right? Where we go into unconscious mind, where we're just doing the things that unconsciously we know to do when these things arise. And where I found like um, a deeper thing for me in my experience is gratitude. So rather than going to these retreats or going to these events and being surrounded by incredible people and getting caught up in the hype of that, I've learned to just be fully present and be grateful for what I'm experiencing. Because rather than feeding into the hype while I'm there, I'm gathering data and I'm being grateful and I'm being right in the moment. And then when I come home, I'm grateful for when the shit hits the fan because those are the times that I'm able to go down to that unconscious and see like what I'm truly made of and see where my weaknesses are, where the things are that I can improve on. And I have gratitude in those because in those moments is where I can see like so instead of like hitting this rock bottom and being like fuck man, holding myself on the mat, like beating myself up, I keep on doing this, I keep on falling to here. I've shifted my awareness to, man, I'm so grateful that this thing has been exposed because that means that I have room for growth in these areas, right? And so that has given me just honestly just a better outlook on life as a whole because I'm not driven by those hype moments anymore. I don't feed into the hype. I don't feed into hustle culture. I don't feed into those things because I found in my experience all that does is lead to burnout. So, and I'm not looking for burnout, man. I'm looking for the long game. I'm looking to be the best version of myself and master myself. Because if I master self, that's the best gift I can give to anyone. Because I can say, hey, man, these are the things that I've done that have led to mastery in these areas. And if you implement these, watch your life change.
No, man, that's cool. And and while you were talking too, like I was like just kind of thinking about this analogy from your previous experience of being a firefighter to being an entrepreneur, and to your point, like in and understanding and appreciating the opportunities to improve because you take a civilian off the street and their house catches fire, what do? They run out of the house, right? Whereas you guys now are instinctively trained to run towards the fire. And it almost kind of reminds me of, the bison analogy talking about, which I think is an incredible, like instinctual, like process in their brain where they see a storm coming and instead of trying to run away from the storm, thus staying in the storm longer because the storm, overtakes them. And then because they're running with the grain with it, they spend more time inside of it. They'll turn and face it and they'll run through it. And it's almost like a similar situation with like the firefighters, but you translate that over to like entrepreneurship, or even if you're like W-2, 1099, whatever, just like being a high achiever like yourself, like you said, chasing, you know, this like greatest version of yourself, is the more we see these, op these, well, it's so instinctual in me. I just call them opportunities. But you see these situations that happen in life, and then you see them as opportunities because they are a chance for you to improve. And that's one of the things I talk about a lot. Is like as soon as you start to find something that aggravates you, that's your sign that there needs to be a solution to that, right? And aggravation can come in all sorts of ways. You can get mad, you can get anxious, you can get depressed. Uh, you know, all these things. Like if it creates something that makes you uneasy, this is your body's way of telling you, I don't like this. And if this happens to be something that you've seen on a reoccurring pattern, it then becomes your literally your responsibility to find the solution to it. So I mean, like, can you kind of talk us through? Because I mean, you've been in business for a while, you've had your ups and you've had your downs, and you've gotten your callus, and like arguably some of these things, they may be reoccurring situations that you face, but you yourself have gotten stronger. So therefore, it doesn't affect you as much, or maybe not even at all, because that becomes life. And then we move on and we just grow and improve, grow and improve. But yeah, what's kind of like that life been like for you over your entrepreneurial journey?
Painful. Fucking painful, man. But honestly, like I live for the forge now. I live for the pain because when you understand duality, when you understand how this universe works, you understand that the deep pain that you experience, you will experience the opposite of that on the higher end. So you can only experience life in duality. And so that's the thing. The forge, the fire, the pain, I love it. I long for it because I know the deeper I experience that pain, when I am in the joy, when I am in the gratitude, when I am in the fully present thing that I've broken through, then that feeling on the other end of it as intense, if not even better than the pain I just experienced. So, I mean, it's just like how is a diamond made? Extreme pressure, right? How are precious metals refined? Through fire. Like these things, these impurities are pulled out with those moments of what appears to be deep suffering. And so I just embrace it. In the way that I've done that, like the thing that's helped me the most in that, honestly, is getting in the sauna and then going into the cold plunge every single day without fail, because I can feel that suffering, that pain, that wanting to run every single day. I notice it. And so just I become hyper aware of what it feels like. And so then now I know, like when I'm in my day-to-day life, I know what the feeling of suffering feels like. I know what that feeling of wanting to run, wanting to go away from it. And so I've learned to just embrace it and turn into it, like you're saying that the buffalo do, because
Yeah.
I understand the amazing things are going to come out of it.
No, man, yeah, it's wild too. Like when you look back on like your past, and like to your point, like it's I know like subconsciously or verbally you want to say that you would still appreciate them as much, but like it's like honestly, but do you, when you start to like unpack, like you truly can't fathom the joy that comes from like the peaks without the valleys. Like you can't enjoy the highs without the lows, the ups without the downs. And it's wild because where we are currently, like, we live at the beach, and one of the things like I was committed to was not taking this for granted, right? And I know this seems so elementary, but from like a psychological, like in a dopamine, you know, conversation is, you hear these people that like live at the beach and they lived at the beach for, a couple years, and like, oh, I couldn't tell you the last time I went to the beach, or yeah, whatever. Like it's just kind of life for them. It was like Heather and mine's like it was like our goal that we're like, no, like every time we see the water, like we're gonna take a moment to appreciate how hard we worked to move here, because this was like a life goal for my wife, was like to move to the beach. And so we're like, fuck waiting until we're in our 60s to finally enjoy life. We're like, we're going to live life on our own terms. And so to your point, like it was hard moving here. But in that like pain, to your point, there was so much joy because we could sit back and be like, man, we fucking earned this. Like we did this. Like, so you know, there's definitely a lot to be told there when it comes to that. And then also, and this will probably be a good conversation to have is every time, man, like I've seen myself hit these brick walls. And as you know, like because you get stronger, these brick walls get bigger and thicker and hit back harder. And you know, so every time I come to a new one that like really kind of puts me on my ass, and I have to sit there and like, fuck, bro. All right, we going through this one, we going over it, we going around it, we going under it. Like, what's the game plan here? It's almost like this like really weird appreciation and like excitement like falls over me because I'm like, this is an opportunity to separate me from the rest because there's going to be some motherfuckers that hit this bitch and they're not going to have what it takes to go get past it. And so that's going to like daddy's here now. We're going to figure this the fuck out come hell or high water.
Mhm.
So have you had any experiences in that? I mean, like I said, I know that it's been a you know it's been a journey, we'll say that, you know, for you, but like what's that relationship with these like hard times been for you every time you face that fucking new brick wall and you're like, god damn it, not again.
I love it.
Yeah.
I've come to expect it. Because this is where the people who are the builders, the movers, the world changers are the ones that know that there is another wall coming, right? It's coming. There's no question about it. And it's in the next wall, like you said, it's bigger and there's more things. And so often what I found in the older version of me, before I changed my identity, is I would come to a wall and I'd be like, well, fuck, I don't want to do the work to get through this wall, right? And so I would just never attack it. Because I don't really necessarily want to know what's on the other side of that wall
You start
because
justifying how well life is on this side of it, like you
I'm
start telling
comfortable.
yourself all these excuses.
Yep, I'm comfortable. I
Mm.
don't need this. I have everything I need already. Well, yeah, sure you do because that's what you've created. Like that's what you're choosing. You can have more, but like on the other side of it, there's going to be more obstacles and bigger things to work through, bigger opportunities. And so it's really a gut punch and a gut check of like who are you? What are you creating and where are you going? And are you willing that no matter the wall, no matter the obstacle, to keep moving?
No, man, you know, and it's wild to think about because you know, talking about like those excuses or those like voices in your head, like, oh, like life on this side of the wall is all right, like, you know, whatever. And then you start getting really like you really start getting conflicting, especially like when you're in the world that we are in, like where we're paying attention to people that have done real things. And then it sucks when sometimes you get conflicting information from people that you look up to. Because the thing is like the two that sit on my shoulders to try and like pull me one way or the other, it's no longer like good versus evil, right? Like we're going for good here, right? Like, let's just say, you know, everyone that's listening in this episode, they've kicked the fucking devil off their shoulders, and so now it's good. But then you have the two different versions of this like good, which are like, you know, in my mind, these people that you look up to that give you, you know, conflicting stories where it's like you have the one on your shoulder that's like, you know, hey man, like you have accomplished a lot and you have worked really hard and you have earned everything up to this point that like at one point in your life you were praying to have this life. At what point is enough enough? Like at what point are you actually not seeking these things that you say you are? And there's something underlying, like, oh, you want validation from other people, or you want a fucking Instagram flex, or you want the Lamborghini just so you could say fuck you to, you know, your childhood friends, or like whatever that is. Like there's that one on your shoulder that's just like, man, like now it's about balance. Like, you know, you worked hard, don't burn out. Now is when we like enjoy fruits of our labor. And then you have the other side that's like, hey, motherfucker, I know you've done some great things, but like there, you have so much more untapped potential. And through that untapped potential, you start getting the opportunity to pour into other people. So then there becomes this like conviction of like, no, like I must go on. Yes, I have everything that I want or at one point prayed for, but I know that I'm worth more. And I know that there's people that are looking at me, and if I give up now, like their blood's on my hands because I'm going to show them that there is opportunity at some point to just give up chasing this next ideal goal that you have. Because that's, I mean, honestly, that's one of the biggest things with like high achievers and high earners is like you fucking hit a goal. It's almost like you don't even have time to celebrate the fucking win because you've now seen what you're capable of, and then there's just a higher goal and a higher goal and a higher goal. Like, it's all the motherfuckers that ran the 4 minute mile for the first time, like something that could have never been done, you did it. And so it's like, fuck, what's next? But like what's kind of that journey been like for you? Because you've had success, and then you've pivoted, and you've seen success again, and then like life's come at you, like, so like what's kind of that journey been like, and like what have you learned through that process?
Man, there is a constant pivot in life, right? There's a constant pull of what direction am I going, and who am I becoming, and um do am I satisfied with where I am, and do I want more, am I creating more? And what I found for me, and this, maybe this will resonate for some, and it won't for others, is that honestly I'm creating both. And what that looks like for me, and I'm not there yet, and I'm on the hustle end of it right now, because it's like the rocket ship. 80% of the energy is expelled getting the ship off the ground, and then 20% is used to maintain the ship when it's in the air. And so I'm in that 80% phase. But what I'm creating is a 3-day work week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, where I'm in and I'm hitting it hard, and I'm doing all the tasks. I'm in my masculine energy. I'm really pursuing things and breaking down barriers. And then the other 4 days of my life, I'm in my creative. I'm in the flow. I'm touching in the feminine energy. I'm understanding that I can be right where I am. I'm allowing myself to receive. And I find that when I get in that flow, it's where I do the best. And right now, how I'm embodying that and living that while I'm in the 80% phase, I work every fucking day, dude. Like, there is not a day that I'm not doing shit. But within my day, I break my days into micro flows
Mm.
where I'm experiencing that. Like right now, I'm here with you. This is something that I like to do. I like to have these type of conversations. They feel my soul, right? And so then after this, I'm going out and I'm gonna hustle, and I'm gonna go. I got several appointments to take care of, to be in the clinic and do those things, and I'm embracing all of it because I freaking love it. I love all pieces of it.
Yeah. No, man, I feel you on a very real level with that. And that's like, my wife and I, we've had some of these conversations. And as you know, like we're in a big rebuilding phase of our life too. So like for me to like talk about the truest examples of this, I would have to talk about, our previous organization that we had that was, super successful. I happened to be the bottleneck, which meant like, I was had golden handcuffs to this like successful business because I had a job essentially. I mean, I had a team that helped with a majority of it, but like I couldn't just disappear. I didn't build that business correctly, which and hence is why we have a new organization and doing things the right way. But through that process, like we'd have a conversation with my wife. It'd be like, hey, listen, um, we can either go on, 4 vacations a year or 3 vacations a year, and I can be totally like unplugged, and like y'all have me for those 5, 7, 10 days, 14 days, whatever it is. Or we can kind of travel whenever the fuck we want, And to your point, it's like, hey, like, on Mondays and Fridays, it's going to be like a little bit more relaxed. I am still going to have to wake up and do some crunch time during the days. But, after lunch, we can go do whatever we want. And then, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, are going to be like normal work days, but at 4 or 5 o'clock, I'm done. And we have the whole rest of the afternoon and evening to go explore these areas, whether it was, stateside or out of the country or whatever. And so, like, that was for me, that was about as close to the balance that we have gotten thus far. Was like really sitting down and saying, like, hey, what do we want out of life? And a lot of these conversations, we had to kind of root ourselves back into like some of the decisions that we originally had made together. Like when right before we got married, or not really, but in those conversations of getting married, we were like, hey, like, we want to travel. Like this is like our like not just I want to travel, like I want to travel with you. Like I want to create memories together and experience life to its fullest. I give Russell Justice a huge shout out because like I joke with him, but like this motherfucker's always on the go. Him, Sheaves, Austin, they're always doing cool shit everywhere they go. It's like every fucking weekend he's on a new airplane in a new area doing dope fucking shit. And he jokingly calls it the halfway dead tour. He's like, bro, like life is meant to be lived, bro. It's like for Heather and I, we had to have that conversation early on, and then that becomes the basis of how we make decisions, right? Like, because we could sit here and be like, oh, we don't have money to do this, or this, that, whatever, but whatever the excuse is. But then we come down to the root of it, and it's like, hey, like, are we getting to like experience life together and create memories? Yeah. Fuck yes. And then the answer is a yes. We'll find a way because we can always make more money, right? And that's the arguable part. And this would probably be a whole separate conversation for a different podcast, but understanding quote unquote wealth, like, all right, cool. You have the Alex Hermosis that are like, for 5 years, you don't go to a wedding, you don't go on any vacations, you tell your friends, no, 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 no. And arguably, yes, that is the quickest way and the fastest way to build wealth. But then also, like, at what point do you wonder? Sorry, I'm taking a long-winded way of saying this because
Oh, good.
you, as like having that time in the clinic, recovering from your experiences in firefighting and losing 10 others, and then me and my motorcycle wreck, it's like, motherfucker, I might not get those 5 years. So
I
like,
agree.
where is this? And of course, as soon as I say this, people will be in my DMs like, there's no such thing as work-life balance, or it should be life-work balance, or it's called life-work synergy, or there is no such thing as balance because you got to hustle, hustle, hustle. If you want this, you can't have this. Fuck it all. Like at some point, motherfucker, to the truest sense of the goddamn word, you have to find some sort of balance in your life to
Yeah,
where
I'm
you're
with
not
you.
fucking miserable and depressed your whole life. But like, what's that been like for you, bro?
Man, the hustle culture to me is dying. That's just my personal opinion. We're in a whole world shift. We're in a frequency change. The world is shifting right now, and if you're not aware, like wake the fuck up and look around and see what's happening. And the shit that used to work, you can do it that way, and it works, but there's other ways to do it too. And I truly believe in that. Whatever you speak and whatever you embody and whatever you feel is what your experience will be. And so if you want to hustle and do all the things and miss out all that and get all the money and get the cars, you'll get that. And great, awesome, great for you. I'm glad that you got created that. For me, what I'm creating is balance. I don't give a shit what people think about me or what they say or that there's not balance. I don't resonate with that. I just don't believe that. I believe that there's a way where you can have both and you can experience life and create wealth. That's just my opinion. And hey, do I have as millions of dollars yet? No, not yet. And am I going to get there as quick? Maybe, maybe not. But I don't fucking care because I'm enjoying my life. And that's what matters the most to me.
100%, man. And that's like what's been fun for me because, like, I hear people talk all the time and they fucking speaking on shit that they don't have the authority to speak on, or coaching or writing books and shit that they don't have, and believe me, like I'm not where obviously like I want to be. This last weekend, I was hanging out with a dude that just turned down a deal for a competitor that wants to shelf its product for $250 million up front and 1.2 billion over 5 years. Like, and so I get around these people, and I like we were like working out in the gym together, and I'm like, motherfucker, dude, there's definitely levels to this. And so it's like it's a cool reflection for me where I'm like, man, maybe I should shut the fuck up and like and get some shit done before I open my mouth about some of this stuff. But I say all this at a preface to say, like, I'm not where I want to be. But shit, just 2.5 years ago, we were doing $250,000 months. Um, we were doing real shit. I mean, it ain't that big a shit, but like we were doing okay. Um, but and we had to mask that, growth in a very short amount of time, like less than 36 months. Um, but I can say where we are today and how we are operating both personally and professionally, I much, 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 much would prefer this. And I will say, I don't know how true this is because I have yet to experience it, but I can say three of the people that I've looked up to the most that all of us would say are the wealthiest people that we know. There might be other people that you would consider are wealthier, but if you had a top 10, like these names would be in the top 10. So like let's just say that we can listen to them. And they all said, one of which is a billionaire, by the way, said that if they had started pouring into more people sooner, they would have gotten further faster. And so that's when the light bulb really kicked off. Back when I was running the previous organization, I was like, I need to rip the band-aid off because the more I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul, like the longer I stay in this lifestyle, the less time I have doing this. And then it goes back to, and crap, his name just, lost my mind, but the, fuck, I think it was like Zig Ziglar. I could be wrong, but stated, this gentleman states that if you, the more people you can help get what they want, they will help you get what you want. And
Yep.
and like when you say all these things together, it's like, oh, we're gonna be good to other people so they can, selfishly take care of us. And it's really not that. And that's the whole premise behind these sayings is obviously like the fuckheads that like want to take advantage of people are gonna see it that way, be like, hell yeah, they'll get sniffed out and kicked out. But like it's the motherfuckers that really truly understand that you don't really make it anywhere alone. It takes a tribe that really get to see and reap those rewards. But I mean, what's your thoughts on that, and like how have you
Man,
seen
that
that play out in your life?
resonates so much with me, dude. Like all I do is pour out into people. Like I am constantly pouring and pouring and pouring because I know, and not in a taking way, but in a way of that I understand the laws of the universe. And one simple principle is just this: the more that you give, you will receive. But here's the thing, maybe not how you think you will. So if you give with an expectation of receiving, it doesn't work that way. But when you just give abundantly and give and give and give and give, just watch and see what comes back to you. And it may not be monetarily, it may not be the way that you think that it should, or that you have an expectation of it to, but it will come back, and you will 10x your life. I hate that term because of Grant Cardone, by the way.
Right.
But you will, like,
Yeah.
if you pour. I mean, I give so many free IVs away. I give so many free treatments away. I genuinely, because I know that when I show people how they can feel and how they can be and feel better, that they're going to share and they're going to help me, and it feels good. I genuinely, if I could do this without charging money, I would, but I charge money so that I can help more people.
Right. No, 100%. And that's the way it should be. I mean, you know, I've seen it time and time again. And in fact, Matt, who, I worked out with the gentleman, and it was crazy. Like I walk out of the gym and I see this like Ford GT Carbon Edition sitting out front. I'm like, who the fuck is driving $1 million car to the fucking gym? I was like, that's a motherfucker I want to hang out with. And so, anyways, long story short, we ended up having a great conversation and then, you know, working out together and we're supposed to go work out again this weekend and shit. And like, so I'm listening to this guy talk, and to your point, like the root of pretty much everything that like he um validates is like why he is where he is and where he is. It all comes down to relationships. Now, let's be honest here and say like at some point like you have to capitalize on a relationship. It's not like people are just going to come and hand you $1 million or $1 billion business or whatever the case is. But and a lot of that comes from to your point, like is how can I help first? Like how can I give? And then depending on who you are, who you learn from is probably going to be like what strategy you adopt. And arguably there are levels to it. For example, like, Gary Vaynerchuk talks about like, jab, jab, hook, right? So like his is like give, then ask. And, you'll have some of these like experts or whatever that'll break it down into like an actual, like, you got to give 9 times and ask the 10th time, or like, a certain percentage of your context has to be gives, and then you have the ask. And then you have like the Alex Hermosi's who are like give until they ask. So there is no ask. It's more attraction marketing. And arguably you can be like, well yeah, motherfucker, like, you took your first company within 12 months was doing like, well, not your first. He failed like 7 or 9 times before he really caught on. But then he had 3 businesses back to back. I can't remember what the first one was. It was doing like 1.2 million a month uh within 12 months. And then the next one, it was, I think, Prestige Labs that was doing like 1.5 or 1.7 a month within 12 months. And then Gym Launch, which was doing 2 million a month before, so it's like you look at this dude and you're like, well, yeah, motherfucker, you can give until they ask, but I got to put food on the table with where I am right now. So like, arguably, to be the devil's advocate, there are levels to this, but I think the principle is the part that most people that are listening need to catch on to, which is the fact that like you have to lead with value, especially when you start dealing with these high-end people that like, bro, one fucking deal from some of these people could change your fucking life, And so that's even why, I sent a screenshot into our group chat and like tagged Stoller. Here's a dude that runs $100 million a year organization. I was like, hey, bro, like, am I handling this conversation correctly? Like, how do you approach someone that's at this level? Because I understand, like, dude, just being around this motherfucker, and it's funny, it actually ties it all the way back to what you said at the first, like, just being around this motherfucker, inevitably I'm going to win. Like somehow I will end up winning, whether that's winning through like learning something, winning through a connection, winning through a relationship, winning through a deal, winning through anything. Like you hang out with fucking winners, you end up fucking winning, bro.
Totally.
Uh, but I mean, like, yeah, what's your thoughts on all of that? Because I mean, that's for me, that's kind of the way that I've translated a lot of this. The more and more that I've learned is, about this like this pedestal of like give and ask and pouring
Mhm.
into others versus finally reciprocating. What's that been like for you, bro?
So for me, it's the journey of understanding frequency. So everything in the universe is a vibration. Everything vibrates at a certain hertz. And when you start to understand that, you understand that like frequencies attract, and frequencies that are not the same, they repel each other. The highest Recorded frequency is the frequency of authenticity. So when you're being authentic, you are at your high, you're vibrating at your highest frequency. And when you are doing that, then your frequency begins to rise. And the more often that you are authentic, the more often you're vibrating a higher frequency. And so this is why you are experiencing people coming into your life like that, because you are being authentically you, and you're raising your vibration to the same vibration as these people. And so that's why they're beginning to become attracted to you. And then when you step into their space, they realize that you're vibrating at the same frequency as them. And the way I know is because I'm experiencing the same thing, is that as I'm rising my frequency, those type of people are showing up more and more and more and more and more, because they're attracted to me, because we're all in that same vibration, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. I think we just read about that in Positive Intelligence. It wasn't like it didn't take a deep dive into it, but very, very much familiar with people talking about that. And in fact, it was either that book or maybe the one we're reading now about choosing your own life. But that actual statistic about authenticity being the highest level of vibration was actually touched on. So, like, how do you increase your vibrations? Is it just being more authentic, or like let's talk about that for a little bit and we'll might close out on this, but like as far as like okay, cool, like I want to put better vibrations out in the world. How do I start
Totally.
on that journey?
It's discovery of self. And so the way that you begin to raise your vibration is you become the witness of what your experience is. And as you begin to witness what you're experiencing, then you can be authentically you. And when you're authentically you, then you begin to raise your vibration. It's like emotions, especially for men. Men tend to they don't feel their emotions. We tend to suppress them, and that's keeping you in a lower vibration, because you're not being authentically you. Because you we have a gut brain connection. It's through the vagus nerve. Okay, so that's how our body connects to our mind, and it's actually the signals are more body to mind than mind to body. Okay. I think it's like 80% of the signals come from the body and go to the mind, 20% go from the mind down into the body. Why is this important? Because your feelings, your emotions, they vibrate in your body. And so, like, for example, when I have anger, I know that I get heavy chested, and I know that my gut begins to turn a little bit and I feel tight. That happens before I recognize that I have anger. So I've gotten to the point now that I feel the emotion in my body, and then it that triggers my mind to go, oh, I'm feeling anger, right? Because become in tune with that vibration of the emotion. And so that's how you start to become authentically you. Until you connect the mind back to the body, you're never gonna rise your vibration. You can't, right? Because you're not in tune, you're not in sync with what you're experiencing. And if you don't know what you're experiencing, how can you be authentic?
Damn, bro, that's badass. And if you're listening and all that sounds like fucking Chinese, but it's, I mean, but it's interesting enough. Like this is becomes your responsibility to go down that rabbit hole, and start asking the right questions and figuring that out, because that's something that I myself have kind of been going down that rabbit hole with the mind body connection. Your gut being your second brain, and how we take care of our body, for brain fog and mental clarity and flow state and shit like that's definitely helped me over the last probably, arguably down this journey for the last 2 years or so, but like heavily, heavily 6 to 9 months with like watching like literally the types of foods that go in my mouth and stuff like that. But no man, Nick, fucking this was a gangster ass episode. What like what can we do to pay you back for the time that you spent here with us today? And then B, like how can these people find you?
No need to pay back, man. I'm just extremely grateful to be here. Really, honestly, just brand awareness. My website's awakeniv.com. We're doing some really cool shit. If you are suffering, like we have some legit things we can help you with. and you can fly to see me. Like, I will help you get here. I will help arrange to get you the healing you need. And then that's the best. Honestly, that's the best place to find me is wakeandIV.com. It's got all the socials, and then once you see that, you'll see my own personal socials. And but yeah, that's me. Here I am.
Fuck yeah, man. Well, I greatly appreciate you spending some time here with us. You know, arguably your most valuable asset that you have. So it means a lot. And if you're listening and you wanted to get in contact with Nick, obviously reach out. I'd be more than happy to connect you guys. That's what I love to do is be a master connector. But outside of that, if you liked this episode, if you got something out of it, please share it, like it, you know, let us know in the comments, reach out to Nick himself, reach out to me, whatever. Just let us know what your thoughts are because we love hearing that this meant something to you. And then that allows us to help go find other people that are searching for those same things and provide them the information that you heard here today. But thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time. Peace.